Those orange things are life jackets. Now, we haven't used life jackets in over 100 years. We're not going to start today. But in the event that I tell you to put on a life jacket, you're going to reach up there, pull one down, unbuckle the strap, stick your head through the hole, wrap the strap around behind you, and reclip it up front. Now, in the event that something really, really bad happens and we take a rogue torpedo or get boarded by pirates and we have to abandon ship, when I give that command after you have your life jacket on, you're going to calmly and orderly stand up, walk right out that front door. When you get to the white deck out front, just take one more step forward. You're going to step off into the beautiful waters of the Silver River and make your way to the shoreline. In the meantime, our highly trained team of rescue alligators will be dispatched to help you any way that they can. Now, on a serious note, though, if you just listen for the sound of my voice, I will already be standing on the bank directing you to safety. The safety comes first.
Remember, you don't have to swim faster than the alligator, just faster than the person.
That's right. Whenever you're swimming with somebody with alligators, you only have to swim as fast as the slowest person. Now, we're on the Silver River here today. The Silver River actually flows down 5 miles into the Ocklawaha River. The Ocklawaha River flows north into the St. Johns River, about 55 miles from here. The St. Johns River continues north, and it actually flows into the Atlantic Ocean by a little town in North Florida called Jacksonville. So you can actually go by water from here to the Atlantic Ocean. Now, these boats were built 50 years ago. The first glass-bottom boat tour was actually in 1878. A young man took a wooden rowboat, put a piece of glass in the bottom of it, would paddle up and down the river giving tours for a nickel apiece. So again, these boats are 50 years old. That is the original glass you're looking through. It's about a ½ an inch thick. So please be very careful not to drop or throw any hard objects on the glass, such as phones, cameras, keys, little brothers or sisters, and we don't want to throw husbands down there. Okay? We don't want to damage the glass in any way.
Yeah.
Now, our springs here are a constant 72 degrees year-round. The water clarity or purity at any of our springs is 99.8% pure when it comes out of the ground. That's what helps with the clarity, makes the depths very deceiving. I'm going to get some of these bubbles off the glass here, so bear with me a minute. I want everybody to have a good view. Now, other than our famous glass bottom boats, what else is Silver Spring world famous for?
I know there's like some statues down in the bottom.
No.
The amount of diversity?
No. You're on the right track. You've seen at least one. Either movie, TV show, commercial, or documentary that has been filmed here. There's been over 200 of them. The first movie that was filmed here was actually in 1916. It was a silent black and white movie called Seven Swans. Now there's been several actors work here, such as Jane Russell, James Dean, Jerry Lewis, Jackie Gleason, Tom Cruise, and Johnny Weissmuller as Tarzan. So this first spring coming into view is named in their honor. It is called the Spring of Stars. Now as we get up here, if you follow that gray ledge down there on the bottom, where it meets the white sand down there, you can see the shells tumbling out. That is the spring vent. This spring is 26 feet deep. Now if you guys would like to take photographs through the glass, that's fine. The best way to do it though is if you take your cell phone, set it right on top of the glass, right next to you, that way you can just reach over and hit the photo button. That's perfectly okay. And just put it right in front of you or up to the glass, that way you're not disturbing your neighbor. Now it has been quite some time since we've actually had movies filmed here, so the star of our springs are our fish. Trying to get some of them to come up here to the boat here in a second. Coming up yet? They running up here? Come on, guys. There they come. Now these guys down here are brim and bluegill. We call them lucky brim because it is illegal to fish along the entire Silver River. So these guys will never be invited to a fish fry. So we have 32 different species of fish that call this river home. Brim, bluegill, bass, catfish, mullet. The blue fish you'll see down there with the forked tail, those are blue shad. We also have two types of garfish, spotted gar and a long-nosed gar. You'll see another fish down there that kind of looks like that, looks like a bass, but it has a ribbon dorsal fin that goes down its entire back. Those are called mudfish or bowfin.
Now
our next spring we're going to look at is an actual movie set. It's called Creature Spring. If you look down underneath the glass in the front part of the boat, you'll see a V-shaped formation in the rock down there. That is the spring entrance. That is called Creature Cave. Anybody want to guess what movies were filmed here? Very good. Creature from the Black Lagoon and Return of the Creature from the Black Lagoon and Revenge of the Creature from the Black Lagoon. So now if you ever saw those movies, the creature was named Gillman. That cave down there was his home. Looked like a human lizard type person with big eyes and a big gill around the back of his head. Now that costume was actually made out of a spongy rubbery material. They had to put weight in the feet and hands so the stunt diver could make it down there. Now the diver that played the creature, his name was Rico Brown. He worked here at the park as a stunt diver for several years. Said he could hold his breath for almost a minute and 20 seconds. So he put that costume on with those scuba deer, swim down in that hole, wait for them to yell action, and come out and make his appearance. Now you can actually see one of those costumes in our education center, located between the gift shop and the restaurant when you get off the boat. Now, Mr. Browning worked on several TV shows here, such as Sea Hunt and I Spy. He also became an underwater filmmaker, worked on movies with the James Bond series, such as Never Say Never, Thunderball, and Moonraker. Now, you might not recognize his name, but you've seen his work. If you've ever seen the TV show called Flipper, he was one of the co-creators of it. Still lives here in Marion County. Creature Spring. And again, it's 30 feet deep down there to the mouth of that cave.
It looks so shallow.
Yeah. Again, that's just because of the clarity of the water. Now, all this water coming out of these springs comes out of the Florida aquifer. The Florida aquifer actually originates in southern Georgia and Alabama. It's a series of underground caverns that are underneath the state all the way to South Florida. Now, over the years, these caverns have filled with water as the groundwater leaches down through the soil. When these caverns are filled with water, it creates these underground rivers that flow south. Anytime there's a weak spot in any of those caverns, the water comes up and out, and that's what creates our springs. So the first two springs we looked at, they're called a horizontal vent, which means they parallel the bottom. This next spring we're going to look at is called a vertical vent, which means it goes straight down. It's coming in a few here in the front of the glass. If you look down in that crevice there, that is the spring. This spring is called the Abyss. Now the maximum depth of this spring, or the official recorded depth, not really the maximum, but the official recorded depth is 91 or 81 feet. That's only because that's as deep as the divers could go before the opening actually got too small for them to crawl through. They took their dive lights, shined it down into that hole. They said their dive lights just disappeared into darkness. Wouldn't reflect off the bottom or the sides or anything down there. So, and then they also carry large spools of string with them, several hundred feet with a weight on the bottom of them. Anytime they get to a narrow passage like that, they'll take that weight, put it down in that hole. When it hits the bottom, they'll measure off how much string they've spooled off. Said the weight never touched the bottom here. So the true depth into the Florida aquifer here is unknown. Now legend has it, when they rolled that string back up again, they said there was a little note attached to that weight. So it was written in Chinese.
Do not answer.
No, it had lottery numbers on the back too. So I don't know what was deeper, the legend or the springs. Now while we're sitting here, if you look out the right-hand side of the boat, you folks on the left feel free to stand up. You see these couple little turtles sitting there? Those are called sliders. We'll see more of them on the trip. We call them sliders because as soon as you get close enough to them, they slide back in the water. Now those are the actual variety of turtles that you would get at a pet store. Okay? When they're really small, and they won't outgrow their aquarium because they don't outgrow their environment. Now they get their name by the color of their underbelly, so they could be a red belly, yellow belly, and orange belly slider. Now what these guys are doing is they are cold-blooded, so they have to regulate their body temperature with using their environment. So after they swim around in this cold water, they jump up on a log like that, use that shell like a giant solar panel, suck up the sun's warmth, warms their blood, they get more active.
They look very much like terrapins.
Yeah, but these are the southern variety here. Now do you know what we call, they're just recharging using Mother Nature. You know what we call a bunch of them sitting on a log like that? It's called a shell station. Now, would you guys be surprised if I told you it was snowing right now here at Silver Springs? Snowing.
Like, it has.
No, this is what we call our Florida snowstorm. Little particles of shell and lime rock that have eroded away out from underneath those caverns. They get forced out through that vent by the sheer force of the water coming out of that spring vent, where they sit there and tumble. Looks like a giant snow globe.
Yeah, it does.
That's our Florida snowstorm. Now you can go home and tell all your friends that you saw it snow in Florida. The only place in the world that it snows at 72 degrees. It snows all year round, and it snows up and not down. We're going to make our way back out to the main river channel, so you keep looking in the glass, look up in the trees, at the base of the trees around us. Usually my guests are the first ones to spot the wildlife. So if you see something, raise your hand, point it out, give me a minute to locate it and identify it for you. If I don't know what it is, I'll try to just make something up that sounds cool. But you could see alligators, you could see monkeys, you could see manatees, maybe river monsters. Okay? You will not see any mermaids though, because that's at Weeki Wachee State Park near Tampa. Unless somebody wants
Are those
to.
real? Are they women dressed up as mermaids?
Well, you tell me. Now I'm going to show you guys another interesting creature that inhabits these waters. Now these guys can be dangerous, so you need to make sure you keep your distance from them. But they are amazing because they ride around on these floating debris fields. Now some of these floating mats are red and yellow and blue and green and stuff. There's some right off the front of the boat right now. Those are called wild kayakers.
Yes.
They can be quite intelligent. If you wave at them, they usually wave back. So let's see, get their attention. They got to make sure they see you. Stick your hand out the window and wave. See? We have highly trained kayakers here. Now you got to make sure you keep your distance from these kayakers because they have these long appendages that stick out on either side of the boat, and you might get hit if you get too close.
Yeah.
And you know what's the one thing you never do to a wild kayaker? Is feed them. So, now these guys have rented these kayaks here in the park. You can rent them by the hour or by the day. Kayak up and down the river, up and down the Fort King Waterway. You can even take them all the way to the end of the Silver River. It takes about 3 or 4 hours. You sit in the middle of the river and just float down. It's very peaceful. When you get to the end, you don't have to paddle back upstream. You can if you'd like. You just call them on the phone and they come pick you up. So, but it's a lot of fun. Now, if you look out the right side of the boat up here in these trees, you folks on the left, I'll have to look through the portholes here. You'll see several nesting birds. These are anhingas and cormorants. Now, to tell the difference between the two, they are a close cousin. But the anhingas have a straight beak. It's about 3 inches long. They have silver feathers on the backs of their wings. The cormorants have an orange beak with a little hook on the end of it. Now, both these birds are considered to be divers, so they swim in the water after their prey. The anhingas will spear the fish. The cormorants will catch them. They'll both bring them to the surface, flip the fish up in the air, and swallow it head first. Because if they swallow it tail first, they only make that mistake one time, and the fish gets stuck in their throat. So those are babies and stuff up there. Now the anhingas, you'll see a couple of them sitting over there, way across the water there on that log, on that tree that's falling down. You see how he's got his feathers, his wings spread out like here, back here towards the back of the boat? That's because these birds do not produce natural oils like a duck to keep their feathers waterproof. So when they get done swimming, they have to jump up on the log, shake off as much water as they can before they can fly off and let their feathers dry in the sunshine. Now you'll see them swimming in the water. The anhingas, you'll see just their head poke up, looks like a snake. So they're also nicknamed a snake bird. So here's some more cormorants here on the right. There's some baby cormorants up there on the top. Yeah, that big bird up there in that nest, that is the baby. It's a big baby. Oh, here's some more elusive wild kayakers coming up on the right-hand side. So you guys on the right, stick your hand out the window and wave. You'll see if these guys are just as intelligent. You gotta wait for them to look at you. See, they are. Now these guys look like they have their private kayaks, which you can launch from the boat basin about 5 miles downriver and kayak upstream, or you can launch them here and go downstream. So, it's easier to go downstream. Now this next spring is called Spring of Life. It is actually made up of several small springs. Now some of these springs are about a foot across, all the way down to the size of a golf ball. So when you look along the bottom of this gray area here on the bottom, anytime you see a white patch down there, that is a spring opening. Now there's some smaller ones coming into view under the glass, but it doesn't look like there's anything coming out. But if you pay close attention, you can see the sand bubbling up out of the bottom of them. Those are called sand boils, but those are small springs. There's just not quite enough water flow to blow that sand out and open the hole. Now during the winter time, we have manatee here in the river. They like to come up here and spend the night in this area because it's out of the river channel and it's about 18 feet deep. Now coming into view under the front part of the glass, you'll see this rock formation down there. At first glance, it kind of looks like that of the backbone of a dinosaur fossil. It is a natural rock. Goodness gracious, someone's getting hot. But if you look at that long piece of wood next to that rock formation, that is a Native American dugout canoe. About 35 years ago, the University of Florida carbon dated that forest, estimated its age to be between 500 and 600 years old. That would have placed it along the river here, the same time the Tomoquin people were Native Americans here in Florida. The university returned it to its exact spot within a half an inch. It is believed to be one of the oldest Native American canoes in Florida. Now, does anybody want to take a quick guess of what type of tree that's made out of? This is a utility canoe, so they can make one of these about a week or less.
What's the question?
What type of tree that's made out of?
Oak tree?
It's not an oak tree. Those type of canoes would have taken several months because they would have had to run. If you look out back behind the boat here, you see that palm tree there? That's a sable palm. That's what that canoe's made out of. Yep. They're already pretty much the same shape. They're pretty much the same shape. They're very fibrous inside of a trunk, so they can scrape it out. So they can make one in less than a week. Now we have 120 spring vents along the river here. That is the main source of water for the river. Now springs come in different classifications. The smallest are called 0 magnitude or 8 magnitude spring, which means they do not produce a lot of water. That would have been our springs that we looked at behind us. This next spring is called a 1st magnitude spring. It is the largest in the spring classification. This is the 2nd largest spring you're going to see on the tour today. This is called Blue Grotto. The spring vent is over here to the right. You can see the shells tumbling out of it. Now the water gets the color from the blue tint from the natural light filtering down to the water column. All that is natural. Now in order to be a 1st magnitude spring, this spring must produce 100 cubic feet of water per second. That translates to this spring can produce 60 million gallons of water in a 24-hour period. All of the 120 springs combined at their maximum flow have been recorded to produce 850 million gallons of water in a 24-hour period. Now as we make the turn here and head back out to the river, there's two more anhingas over here that are going to be on the right, sitting there drying their feathers. Now the one bird on top with the gray neck or the tan neck, that's a female anhinga. The lower bird is the male because he has a black neck. Looks like the male's having a bad hair day there. Now, how many of you guys have heard about our monkeys here in the park?
I have.
We do have monkeys here. Does anybody know what kind they are? They're rhesus, besides hairy ones, they're rhesus macaque monkeys. Now rhesus macaque are native to Asia and India. So a lot of people thought that the monkeys got here when they filmed Tarzan. That was in the 1930s. The monkeys did not arrive until about 1930 or 1942. There's a gentleman named Colonel Toohey that had a private jungle cruise ride. So to increase the popularity of his jungle cruise, he acquired these 12 rhesus monkeys. Took them to an island around the corner here, trimmed all the vegetation from around the island and the shore so they could not jump. Built them a nice habitat for him. They said as he pulled up, let the monkeys go, they ran off his boat and were kind of figuring out where they were at all of a sudden. So Colonel Toohey was extremely excited because he was going to make a lot of money on these monkeys. So to celebrate, as they pulled the boat off the island, some of his buddies were there, they had a bottle of champagne. So they popped the cork on that, it was a loud bang, scared the monkeys, they jumped in the river and swam for shore. Of course, he didn't think it out too good, but he also didn't have Google back then, because if he'd have Googled rhesus macaque, he'd learned that they're one of the best swimming primates in the animal kingdom. Now, it's not uncommon for us to see these guys run down and jump in the river and then get back up in the trees, to cool off. Now, there's about 100 or 20 of them here in the troop here in Silver Springs in the park. They are not held captive, they're free roaming, we never know when we're going to see them. Now once these monkeys reach maturity, they're forced out of that troop, forces them downriver to make new troops, meet new monkey friends. So obviously there's a little monkey business going on because the Wildlife Commission estimates there's over 400 of them now.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you encounter one of them in the park, just keep your distance. Despite how cute and cuddly they are, when they become agitated and frightened, they're going to show their 2-inch fangs, jump and snarl at you like a big game of chicken trying to scare you off. Just back away. You don't want to prove you're a bigger monkey than they are. Because if you hold your ground right there, the next line of defense is they throw bodily fluids at you that they produce. Now these guys are nomadic. They travel a lot. They have been seen just south of Jacksonville and just north of Tampa. I had a guest on my boat the other day that said he was actually driving down Interstate 95, and as they're driving, he just saw one sitting on a fence post there watching the cars go by. So. Not only that, but recently some of these guys have been trapped. They've been tested. They do carry herpes, and some have been known to carry hepatitis B, which is transmittable to humans and fatal. Now, we have not had an rhesus attack on a human in the park. You don't want to be the first one. Besides that, it's going to be really challenging for you to go home and explain to everybody how you caught herpes from a monkey. So, I don't think that's going to work out too good, but try it. Now, this area over here to our right, that's our Sea Hunt dock. Where they filmed episodes of Sea Hunt starring Lloyd Bridges in the 1950s. There's a nice little pathway down the river here. There's some TV show history there. There's a big plywood cutout. You can stick your face in it, get your picture taken in scuba gear. It's kind of cool. Now the last movie that was filmed here was done right here. It was last year. ABC came in, filmed some scenes for their upcoming series or movie called Salvage. Stars Jim Belushi. It's a crime-based drama based here in Florida. But again, some of the scenes were filmed right there. It does feature our glass bottom boat.
Are alligators in the water though?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I didn't know if that was part of the film.
Oh no, they're here. I'm trying to find.
Sometime?
We saw a little one back there today, but the two big ones are 9-foot females, and the male bull gator. This is his territory. He's 13, 14 feet.
You never, but is he ever like roaming?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
sometimes he's down there hanging underneath.
We could see him underneath the boat. We've seen manatee under the boat before too. So, yep. They don't come in the boat though, or they haven't yet.
Okay.
So, in fact, one of our boat captains, Captain Christopher, is working today, actually landed a speaking line in that movie, so his kids can't wait for that to air. So they can tell all their friends their dad's a TV star. It's only 2 words. We keep giving them a hard time though until they're going to cut that scene. So, but again, look for that sometime this summer or fall. Again, it's called Salvage. Now this next spring in here, hopefully we'll see some turtles under the glass. So I've only seen them on one trip today, which is really strange.
We saw one earlier.
Yeah, but usually there's 5 or 6 of them underneath the glass here. But now this spring is called Cypress Spring. You'll see why in a moment. There's a very large cypress tree that fell down in the spring.
Okay, my box.
As long as they estimate this tree fell about 200 years ago. As long as it stays in the water, it's like our palm tree. Cypress are very decay and